Hello and welcome to the Metaverse Insiders interview series. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Josh, and in today's episode, we interviewed Roberto Grande, CEO and founder of 3Gen.
All right, so if we could just start off, I would love to hear more about your background. So as a former IP lawyer, how did you begin to build your brand agency that works so well with multinational brands like you have now? And how are you bringing this experience forwards to what you now do?
Recovering IP lawyer is how I like to normally phrase it. The truth of the matter was I left IP law, and mostly as a function of the fact that I realized that I was not playing downstream of some really exciting deals, and saw an opportunity to move closer to where the real action was happening, and actually crafting and designing some of these deployments of new technology, which is what, again, I was papering back at the law firm. So there were a few missteps along the way as I tried to work out exactly how to leverage my skill set, but was fortunate enough in terms of the migration path. I worked with the team that took Cristiano Ronaldo onto Facebook. And this will age me, but so be it. We were lucky enough to, in very short time, build one of the largest Facebook pages in the world as at the inception point of one of the World Cups. That then led to being approached to start a new agency, which at the time sought to change the brand agency dynamic and find a way for agencies to own or co-own the intellectual property that they developed with their clients, rather than just handing it over on a work for hire basis. So we actually got to work with brands like Nike and Microsoft. It will be a relic on eBay now, but we worked with Nike at a period when both the LA Lakers and the Clippers were strong, which had never come about. And as we sought to develop a campaign that celebrated the fact that there were two great teams in one city rather than play off the old rivalry, Dos Angeles was born. And we were able to take what would have normally been just a tagline and instead, proliferate it across T-shirts, hats, shoes, etc. And went on to do similar things before I sold out of that and tried to get back to the innovation roots, which I was mostly excited about, and worked with companies designing brand innovation programs where we would explore emerging technologies and deploy them to either drive brand innovation, process innovation, across everything from loyalty and rewards to moving the micro transactions from .com all the way into the messaging platforms, which was Facebook at the time. That, of course, then migrated as well. My interest in emerging tech then also became an investment and a building passion. Everything from esports, like the FaZe clans of the world, different streaming platforms, especially in emerging markets, and then, of course, 2017 happened and NFTs fell from the sky. I'd traded blockchain. I traded crypto for a lot of time, long before, probably about 2014. But for a recovering IP lawyer to see a net new digital asset class fall from the sky was a pretty incredible moment. The epicenter of the NFT ecosystem was Hong Kong at the time, both from a capital and talent perspective. So I sort of rushed to sort of learn and invest in different platforms and opportunities there, from marketplaces to what were the strategic pre-sale tokens at the time, all the way through to then advising and founding projects in the space. And then at around 2021, the intersection of my two endeavors came about as my brand clients, for which I was advising around the deployment of innovation programs, started to ask about blockchain. And then 3Gen, our agency, was born. It lives as a separate entity because I believe that in order for brands to find their way into this new enabling technology, it does require the collaboration of both brand and blockchain natives. We've seen a lot of brands enter the space during 2021's hype cycle, but a lot of it was chasing buzzwords. We saw drops, we saw metaverse PR to pump a stock, but the one thing that got left behind was the most important, which is the technology. Flash forward, and the headlines are now riddled with the collapse of FTX, the depreciation of the value of Justin Bieber's Bored Ape, and the media has revolted and is asking whether blockchain is just a solution looking for a problem. So my mission here, both as a builder, founder, and investor in the space, in the blockchain space, and an advisor on the brand side, is to help brands understand the blockchain technology and build true business cases around it, not just use cases that end up being fodder for a PR cycle.
That's very interesting stuff. I see many companies nowadays mostly pointing themselves in the trajectory of entertainment more so than anything. So it's understanding to hear this perspective on it. And as you say, trying to get more companies to understand this blockchain and crypto. You said that you gained a lot of momentum when the NFT hype initially dropped. Would you say that was a turning point for you to come up with these ideas and the initiation of 3Gen?
Yeah, 3Gen came about as a result of again, the sort of 2021 hype cycle. And it was mostly a function of the fact that a lot of my peers in the industry were calling me about their NFT drop that their brand wanted to do. And my initial reaction to a lot of them was, please don't. Because, for me, I was coming at it from a place of being a Web3, well, I know we're not there yet, but a blockchain native. And it was almost a cultural appropriation moment where they sought to, move into the world of Discord and, claim their place in OpenSea without coming correct or truly appreciating the beauty of the culture that had sort of proliferated around digital asset ownership and the empowerment of a community. So my initial reaction was, please don't. I then saw that actually brands are blockchains, the friend of blockchain adoption, in terms of when we look at all of the opportunities that it affords, be it, again, its bigger promise, not to get too heady, but the democratization of the internet or the emancipation of the consumer when you start to think about digital property rights, data sovereignty, but even the creator economy and all of this new winner shares all promise. I think that no one can move an audience like brands can. And for all of the engagement and adoption that blockchain needs to realize its promise, they are potentially our greatest ally. So the other thing was that, look, I also, as I watched brands enter the space, some of them, it is an easy port. For those in the media space or content space, like an NBA into NBA Top Shots, that is just a natural progression when you think about the digitization of an existing asset. Similarly, when you look at apparel or some of the way luxury brands have been able to extend, that's an easy port. For many others, however, a PFP drop felt like a Frankenstein's monster. And that was a function, I believed, of the fact that NFTs had been presented to brand marketers as a product, not a technology. And remember, an NFT at its simplest version is a block with a unique identifier pointing back to its owner and some metadata which points to a website. That's it. The JPEG was the proof of concept for me of the technology, but very far short of its promise. And so I think the moment we can start to show the brand community that the NFT ecosystem is actually a very familiar one. The unique identifier for their customer is something that actually they've always sought and is more important than ever as we move into the deprecation of cookies and the end of behavioral data. Websites, they know all about. They've spent the last 20 years in the space serving all manner of, be it content, experiences, or tickets, deeds of ownership. We're only bound by our imagination as to what lives on the other end of that metadata. And it's got to be more than a JPEG.
That's a very, very valid point. That definitely is more than a JPEG at this point, I must say, Roberto. So just to elaborate slightly, you're mentioning how brands are the key to making this almost a mainstream phenomenon. No, it's on its way, but not quite, as you are very much aware. So what type of brands do you reckon are an ideal fit in this scenario?
Look, I think brands that are an ideal fit obviously, well, let's back it up. I'd rather answer the question with which brands is this ideal for? And there are a couple of different layers to that. Like I said, the easiest or the sort of top layer with an easy transition and instant utility are those that can easily port their existing business into digitized assets or virtualized experiences. Content, apparel are immediate examples of that. The sort of next layer down would be any brands that are currently intermediated from their end customer. So this is a world where we start to think of the NFT as the direct line of customer connection for brands that have never actually known their customer, especially at a time, like I said, when behavioral data is about to disappear, and the days of measuring your success by performance and attention, we will sort of have to transition to collecting first-party data, driving deeper relationships one-on-one with consumers, congregating them in communities, and with any luck, turning loyalty into advocacy. And so the intermediate brands would be the next layer. And then I do see just that broad base world of those entities that do have that direct relationship with customers. And this can be retailers, e-com, but it's even more interesting for brands who have a multiplicity of customer touch points that span physical and digital. We're exploring a number of different deployments across physical environments as we look to leverage location-based tech, be it beacons or like Bluetooth beacons or GPS, and in some instances computer vision, to effectively add a net new digital layer to physical environments that that gamify those spaces, both with, and you remember, the moment you trigger that location-based moment, it can surface anything from a video to an AR experience for social virality, and of course, some sort of digital attribute on the other side. Now, when we think back to our NFT as identifier, now all of a sudden brands can use this membership, for want of a better word, to start to incentivize brand valuable actions across the entire ecosystem of customer touch points, be they physical or digital. So we're really spending a lot of time around not only, and this is basically for all of those three, but the physical layer pertains to only some of them. But effectively, how do we use the NFT not as a stunt moment, certainly not as a revenue generating one, but rather as brands' best friend as they enter the world of the invisible user and are forced to drive direct relationships with customers. And we believe NFT technologies that span physical and digital spaces are a real opportunity.
No, that's very interesting to hear once again, because there are many different debates currently going on about NFTs, and I believe many people consider them to be a fad. So it's quite interesting to see how there's so many use cases with them, almost treating them like a evolution of a geotag, but just with so many more use cases than that currently exist now.
Yeah, well, remember, and I want to remember that there are lots of use cases, but look where we are in the world. We've got, we're entering a global recession. Household disposable income is shrinking on the daily. News of FTX's fall and NFT scams have sort of risen to the headlines. The media has been so focused on assessing the worth of blockchain by the market cap of crypto and the sales volume of NFTs, but it's always been about the technology. And so it's not just about use cases for brands. You know, everyone's facing budget cuts. We're really sort of looking to the business cases of NFTs or blockchain more broadly. And so, like I said, we can do all of the stunts. I love the metaverse. I think PFPs are cool. I love a lot of the, I'm a GameFi devotee, but that's not what we're advising for the most part to clients at the moment. It's really the business case side of it, focusing on the technology, and again, helping them build businesses first, and hopefully some buzz will follow. But it needs to be business case over use case.
That's definitely the way to go about it. Effectively sounds like you're going down the a line of being enablers more so than anything, allowing this to actually happen later on down the line where it does eventually hit that mainstream popularity. Because it's very poorly understood. I know, I'm sure you know the same thing as this, Roberto, but speaking to the average person about blockchain technology, and they don't really know what it is.
And that's partly our fault. It's interesting. I feel like when people in the space, we were told we were crazy for so long, and defended our the fact that I was spending time or money in the space, that espousing the not just the virtues but the tech jargon became an automatic response. The fact is that in order for not just brands to understand it, but consumers in general, we need to demystify it and speak to the consumer experience that it enables, rather than front-loading our narrative with the technology. I mean, look at it this way. The NFT, like I said, is the enabling technology for the customer experience. Everyone in the world uses the internet, and no one talks about HTML. So why in this instance have we chosen to front load the tech talk when it's always been about the experience it enables? Likewise, when we think about how to drive mass adoption, onboarding needs to become frictionless. Web 2, Web 3, doesn't matter. The wallet infrastructure, if we're really hoping to, at least for today, expose it to a broader base of users and not just keep selling stuff to each other, needs to, again, become invisible and meet people where they are. Registration with Web 2 credentials. Custodial solutions being the default, because the majority of newcomers will not forgive a brand on the basis of not your keys, not your crypto. So as we sort of approach the market, seeking to sort of hold hands and bring all these people in so that they can in fact understand why we've been so excited about this for so long, we do need to meet them where they are, both from a language perspective and from a tech sophistication perspective.
Yeah, that's a very, very good outline to come across from. There's as you said before, it's very difficult for people to understand, especially from where we've already come from. The stepping stones have already put in place. It already throws a bit of a spanner in the works straight away. So totally makes sense.
That's the roundup for part 1 of our conversation with Roberto. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for part 2.